Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Good Tuesday News Day, the day where we cover all the good news that are going on, even from last week and this week, even from today. I'm talking about a lot of animal stuff and medicines, and we've got a good Samaritan out there who's getting rewarded almost instantly for their good deeds. Let's go ahead and get into our headlines. Today on Before Coffee. Wounded orangutan uses medicinal plant to heal itself. And life-changing drug for sickle cell disease to be offered by the NHS in England.
And a boy offers $1 to a man he thought was homeless and gets richly rewarded for his kindness.
In Spain, Urtasun cancels the National Bullfighting Award for animal torture.
And a Good Tuesday News Day news brief roundup. Conservation is working. We have a game changer jab for cancer, and we have other good news.
A wild cocktail of emotion, politics, and desire. The history of breasts in art.
Those stories and more, which is National Teacher Appreciation Day, May 7th, 2024 on Before Coffee.
Okay, let's start with our first news stories coming out of the jungle. This is the first time that we have observed a wild animal applying a quite potent medicinal plant directly to a wound. This is off of Euronews Green by Christina Larson with AP. An orangutan appeared to treat a wound with medicine from a tropical plant. The latest example of how some animals attempt to soothe their own ills with remedies found in the wild, scientists reported on Thursday, which was last Thursday, May 2nd. I have had this story on my docket for a while now. Scientists observed raucous pluck and chew up leaves of a medicinal plant used by people throughout Southeast Asia to treat pain and inflammation. The adult male orangutan then used his fingers to apply the plant juices to an injury on his right cheek. Afterward, he pressed the chewed plant to cover the wound like a makeshift bandage, according to a new study in Scientific Reports. Previous research has documented several species of great apes foraging for medicines in forests to heal themselves, but scientists hadn't yet seen an animal treat itself in this way. This is the first time we have observed a wild animal applying quite potent medicinal plant directly to a wound, said co-author Isabel Lammer, a biologist at the Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior in Konstanz, Germany. The orangutan's intriguing behavior was recorded in 2022 by Ulil Azari, a co-author and field researcher at the Sauk project in Medan, Indonesia. Photographs show the animal's wounds closed within a month without any problems. Scientists have been observing orangutans in Indonesia's Gunung Leuser National Park since 1994. Hey, that's as old as me. 30 years. But they hadn't previously seen this behavior. It's a single observation, said Emory University biologist Jacobus de Rood, who was not involved in the study. But often we learn about new behaviors by starting with a single observation. Very likely it's self-medication, said de Rood, adding to the orangutan applied the plant only to the wound and no other body part. Possible Raucus learned the technique from other orangutans living outside the park and away from scientists' daily scrutiny, said co-author Caroline Schubley at Max Planck. And maybe those wild orangutans learned their behaviors from other people, seeing them apply the plant to themselves. I wouldn't be surprised if orangutans are learning stuff from humans themselves. Raucus was born and lived as a juvenile outside the study area. Researchers believe the orangutan got hurt in a fight with another animal. It's not known whether Raucus earlier treated other injuries. Scientists have previously recorded other primates using plants to treat themselves. Bornean orangutans rub themselves with juices from a medicinal plant, possibly to reduce body pain and chase away parasites. Chimpanzees in multiple locations have been observed chewing on the shoots of bitter-tasting plants to soothe their stomachs. Gorillas, chimpanzees, and bonobos swallow certain rough leaves whole to get rid of stomach parasites. This behavior exists in some of our closest living relatives. What could that tell us about how medicines first evolved? Said Tara Stoinsky, President and Chief Science Officer of nonprofit Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund, who had no role in the study. I think we don't need an in-depth study for this. It's probably really easy to just look at trial and error. That's really, I don't know why we need to find out the truth behind how we developed medicine. I think it's pretty obvious. Some people tried some stuff, said, hey, this makes me feel better, and then told their friends, and then everyone was using, certain plants, and fungi famously are in a lot of our actual drugs that we create to solve many of humans' ills. In other news, speaking of drugs and solving ills, we've got from The Guardian by Toby Thomas, a life-changing drug for sickle cell disease. A new treatment for sickle cell disease has been recommended by Health Watchdog in a move described as life-changing for people living with the condition in England. The drug, Voxelotor, has been recommended for use on the NHS in England by the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence. Nice. That's literally what they're called, nice. In people with disease who are aged 12 and over. The drug, administered as a daily tablet, is said to significantly improve the quality of life for people with sickle cell by helping reduce their need for blood transfusions, which can then lead to having fewer hospital visits. The condition is more prevalent in people with an African or Caribbean family background, according to NHS. In England, about 17,000 people are living with the disease. Of those, 4,000 are believed to be eligible for the new treatment. I wonder what makes you more eligible to have the drug. Maybe how far along you are? The drug's approval has been welcomed by charities and organizations that work closely with people living with sickle cell disease. Charles Kwaku Odoy, the chief executive of the Caribbean and African Health Network, CAN, said, on behalf of the people living with sickle cell and the Black community as a whole, we are absolutely delighted that this treatment has been approved by NICE. This treatment offers significant hope of better quality of lives of those that suffer from its often debilitating condition. At CAN, we continue to advocate and amplify patient voices when addressing systematic inequities for a community that is undeserved. John James, the chief executive of the Sickle Cell Society, said the decision by NICE has brought a great deal of hope, and we're profoundly grateful that this day has arrived. This deeply life-changing and celebrated moment for the people living with the condition. Sickle cell disease changes the shape of blood cells into crescents, hindering blood flow. Sufferers experience severe painful episodes, which can require hospital admission. Life expectancy can be 20 to 30 years shorter than the general population. Helen Knight, Director of Medicine's Evaluation at NICE, said, "This is great news for people with sickle cell disease, particularly given the health inequalities experienced by people with the condition. Throughout our appraisal of Voxelotor, the appraisal committee has always considered that it has the potential to address the need for effective treatment for sickle cell disease, as well as address NICE's aim of reducing health inequalities." Professor Bola Owalabi, Director at the National Healthcare Inequalities Improvement Program at NHS England, said, "We are proud to make this new treatment available on the NHS. It could help thousands of patients living with sickle cell disease across the country to have a higher quality of life, experience fewer side effects, and represents a significant step forward in addressing the healthcare inequalities experienced by some of our communities. It is vital that we continue to get new drugs into the hands of NHS clinicians to improve the lives of people living with sickle cell disorder." I do wonder why it's commonly found in people from the Caribbean. Like, what happened there? Is there an actual medical history as to why this has happened? Because it's really odd. I don't know. Guess I'll be a report for another time.
I don't know either.
Orangutans are smart, and we've found a drug for sickle cell. Not great things to celebrate here in our ever-evolving world. And that's my two stories. My two quick stories. I guess on to yours.
Okay, here's my one quick story. I'm going to take my reading glasses off. This is from Andy Corbley of GoodNewsNetwork.org. A boy offered $1 to a man he thought was homeless. The man in the purple shorts only wanted to step outside for a quiet moment of prayer whilst waiting for his coffee, but ended up attracting the attention of the young man in the gray sweats. The meeting produced an incredible moment that fortified the man's faith in humanity. The story from Baton Rouge, which is in Louisiana, starts when Matt Musbice woke up to a fire alarm outside his condo complex. Throwing on whatever clothes he had lying around, he ran outside only to find it had been a false alarm. Figuring that the rude awakening was irreversible, Musbice decided that regardless of his unkempt appearance, he would go get a coffee and start his day. It was about that time that young Kevin Ellis had entered an eyeglass shop next door with his father, but stepped out while the latter was getting his eyes examined. Meanwhile, Busbiss, who had placed his coffee order, went outside for morning prayer and stepped aside to the corner of the outdoor sitting area to have as much privacy as possible. That's when Ellis spotted him. And I started slowly opening my eyes, and there's this kid coming at me about my height, gray sweats, holds his fist up, Busbiss said, adding that rather than flying into his own chin, the fist was holding a dollar bill. And I go, what? If you're homeless, here's $1, 9-year-old Kevin Ellis Jr. recalls telling Busbiss. I always wanted to help a homeless person, and I finally had the opportunity. Not only is Busbiss not homeless, but he's developed several outdoor brands that have been sold in deals together worth upwards of $100 million. Ellis, on the other hand, had possessed only that dollar, which he received from his father for good grades. Busbiss told CBS News' Steve Hartman that he had not felt faith in humanity that strong of a degree in a very long time. As a reward, Busbiss took Ellis out for a snack at the coffee house, then surprised him with a 40-second shopping spree in the sporting goods store Buckfeather, which he currently runs. Among smaller items, Ellis grabbed a compound bow and new bike, but none of it is what he planned to spend his money on. But said none of it is what he had plans to spend his money on. Joy, because I helped someone, Ellis said, giving something away, and you feel like you've got a lot of things, from it. That's a lot of merit to go around for a beautiful story. Busbiss for his generosity, Ellis for his kindness, and the boy's father for teaching him such valuable wisdom, if indeed he did. Anyway, a great story about a kid. He says, hey, this poor guy needs money. Don't care about anything else except I get to help somebody. And he did. So, good news. Short story. Back to you. I got some longer stories later, but well, I have 3 shorter stories later. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, sometimes it's nice to be rewarded, I guess. Surprised, even.
No, it's not nice to be rewarded.
Like,
it's good to be good to people.
Give money to
Getting rewarded, you should never do things for your... I'm sorry?
I just thought it was really funny that he said, I've always wanted to give money to a homeless person. I thought that was like just a funny sentence to say out loud. You know what? One of my goals in life, give some money to a homeless person. Put that on your list of goals in life.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
One of your goals in life should always be to give things away. Why should you keep things for yourself? Being selfish is silliness. It's just, what do you get out of that?
Yep.
I got a lot of stuff.
Okay, let's talk about my big news story today about Ultrasun canceling the National Bullfighting Award. This is from Sergio C. Fanjul on El País. The Ministry of Culture announced this Friday, which was actually last Friday, on May 3rd, that the National Bullfighting Award will not be awarded this year and that the administration has initiated the procedures for its definitive annulment. Minister Ernest Ultrasun has already repeatedly expressed his opposition to shows based on animal abuse, and in fact, the ministry had not selected any representative of bullfighting for the Fine Arts medals. The measure has earned criticism from the bullfighting sector, of course it has, Pepe and Vox. Anybody who's not aware, Vox is the alt-right, far-right Spanish party, so they're not exactly somebody I care about insulting. But also from socialist barons such as Emiliano Garcia Page. The last winner was Julian Lopez El Juli last year, coinciding with his retirement after a quarter of century in the rings. This is not the first puddle that Urtasun has encountered, having previously generated controversy by declaring upon his arrival at the ministry culture as a form of combat against the discourses of the extreme right, that's true, or by proposing the decolonization of Spanish museums. Wow, this guy's a hero. I love this guy. And it was not a surprise this opposition to bullfighting was already printed in the electoral program of the formation led by Yolanda Diaz and a member of the PSOE in Pedro Sanchez's government. The repetition of the cultural heritage protection of bullfighting is proposed, the limitation of the attendance of minors in cruel shows with animals, and the suppression of public financing of bullfighting shows with the death of the animal. People understand less and less that animal torture is practiced and the prizes are dedicated to it, Urtasun explained on May 3rd morning on the program Al Rojo Vivo, to which he was subscribed in the afternoon in response to the movements of the regional governments that each one is free within their powers to reward what they want. Although Spanish society prefers not to do so, he pointed out. We understand that the national awards are designed to give visibility to cultural sectors that have great social support. We consider that in these times, concerns for animal welfare has been increasing in society. Explained ministerial sources provide information. Only 1.9% of Spaniards attend a bullfighting show or celebrated at all in 2021 to 2022, which was 5.9 points less compared to 2019, according to Bullfighting Affairs statistics. The next action of the ministry regarding bullfighting will continue along the same lines, assures the same sources. The Urtasun department was loaded with data to support its decision. For example, according to a 2022 BBVA Foundation survey, the rating of the use of animals in bullfighting shows was 1.9 among Spaniards. The number of bullfights in Spain fell from 3,651 in 2007 to 1,546 in 2022. So within a 5-year period, there's already been a huge drastic, 3 times less bullfights in the entirety of Spain. In some regions, such as the Canary Islands or Catalonia, bullfights are not held. In others, such as Galicia, Asturias, and the Balearic Islands, Melilla, Cantabria, and La Rioja, there are naturally and practically non-existent. So this is dropping off. Bullfighting is just not the thing. And people are going to hold on to it, I guess, to not let it go. The news, as expected, caused deep discomfort in the bullfighting sector. They did not want to hear the facts that their hobby is no longer popular. Some regional governments came out in a rush to announce their desire to create their own bullfighting awards. Shortly after the news became known, the bullfighting sector showed its indignation in the mouth of Vitorino Martin, president of the Toro del Lidia Foundation, FTL, who declared that the FA agency that Urtasun is not fulfilling its obligations as a public office and is exercising discriminatory manner against bullfighting for ideological reasons. The foundation will consider taking action against the suppression and awarding of the 2024 prize on its own. If he doesn't like the bulls, it is respectable, but he is not there to do what he likes, but to govern for all Spaniards, added the rancher. Okay, well, if we want to do a democracy majority here, the majority of Spaniards don't give a shit about bullfighting, so there you go, he did it, woohoo! The idea of setting up a new parallel prize arose simultaneously in several places, such as in Juanta de Extremadura or in Valencia, where the first vice president, Vicente Barrera, who is a Vox party vice president, was previously a bullfighter, declared This is a symbol of attack on freedom of expression, when the role of the state should be to promote and protect the cultural diversity that characterizes our country. I wonder if they feel the same way about the Moorish culture that used to be in South Spain. Just a question, you know? The far right people love the diversity of their culture, as long as it's Spanish. Anything else, not allowed. Also, the other side of the ideological spectrum, where Emiliano Garcia Page, president of Castilla-La Mancha, and a socialist frequently critical of the official line, announced on his Twitter account that he would initiate contacts with the bullfighting world to create bullfighting awards in their community. These awards also have the ambition of being able to coordinate our share with other autonomies, since we intend for them to have national and international scope, he tweeted. The bullfighter, this is just a picture. For his part, Mariano de Paco, Minister of Culture of the Community of Madrid, described the elimination of the award as regrettable and urged Urtasun to focus on the problems of culture where there are many pending issues. In the same sense, Marta Rivera de la Cruz, cultural delegate of the City Council of the capital, expressed herself, who has also used a well-worn argument of authority in defense of bullfighting. Lorca, Picasso, Chavez, Nogales, or Enrique Tierno Galvan would be today very displeased with the ministry's decision. Okay, well, they're not live, so guess we don't care. We would be doing a disservice if we would not adapt the new realities of society. I believe that we have made a decision that is shared by the majority, key word here guys, majority of Spaniards, and that is in line with the animal welfare law. I think that those who make fuss over are a clear minority, Urtasun answered in the program Al Rojo Vivo on La Sexta. In reference to the initiatives of different regional governments to create new awards, he said, if there are those who believe that animal abuse should be awarded with public money, they are free to do so within the framework of their powers. The National Bullfighting Award was created in 2011, so it's not even that old. Other government of Jose Luis Rodriguez Zapatero, although it was awarded for the first time in 2013, when it fell into the hands of Paco Ojeda. In some ways, it's meant recognition of bullfighting as one of the fine arts, since the other national awards are dedicated to artistic disciplines such as theater, narrative, comics, or dance. I can't argue that bullfighting isn't entertaining, but is it an art? Maybe. I suppose. You have to be quite skilled to do it. That's the problem with art. You can argue for days on end about what art is. It had a prize of 30,000 euros, which was 10,000 more than some of the other awards, such as poetry. Current legislation considers bullfighting as part of cultural heritage, worthy of protection and promoting throughout the national territory. The reason for the suppression of the award for these dates responds solely to the rhythms of the national awards and the training of the juries, according to the ministry. My position is known on the issue. Bullfighting is a great Spanish tradition. But like everything in life, traditions evolve, right? I have said it many times. I believe that the large majority of society does not agree with animal abuse. Minister Urtasun has explained in an interview with this newspaper, which is El País. So there's your big story of today. Bullfighting award no longer available. You're not getting awarded 30,000 euros in prize money for winning the bullfighting award, at least from the National Cultural Heritage, the governmental body. But I guess if you still want to get a payout for bullfighting, just check your local regional ministry and ask them to create an award for you so you can get a payout. I don't think it's going to be as high as this one, but good for them. I think this is great because I also don't agree with bullfighting as an animal abuse sport being so widely celebrated. I think it's okay to celebrate it as a cultural heritage, you know, have some historical museums and stuff about it, saying the history of bullfighting and all of that. But to keep it running just for the sake of it being a cultural marker is when looks like nobody's watching it, nobody's even showing up to watch you, is a bit stubborn and close-minded, I guess. But That's my story.
Sounds like a lot of bull to me. Terrible pun. It's just laying right there. Right, so I sent you a link. I don't know if you got it or not, because...
Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to try it again. Everything's running slow because I got new internet that can't handle the assets that are on it. But let me know if you got it. If not, I'll try to send it again. Maybe Facebook will open properly while I'm reading the story. Okay, this is from Positive.News. What went right this week? Several news briefs. Conservation was shown to work, a game-changer cancer jab, and let's get on with it. Conservation is working, a study showed. This whole thing is from Gavin Hayes of Positive.News. Conservation interventions around the world are saving species and should be scaled to reverse biodiversity loss and slow climate change. That's according to a new study published in the journal Science. It analyzed hundreds of conservation projects globally and compared the results to what would have happened without them. It found that interventions, including creating protected areas and eradicating invasive species, boosted biodiversity or slowed its decline in most cases, 66%, compared with no action taken at all. If you look only at the trend of species declines, it would be easy to think that we're failing to protect biodiversity, but you would not be looking at the full picture, said Penny Langhammer, lead author of the study and executive vice president of Be Wild, a charity. What we show with this paper is that conservation is, in fact, working to halt and reverse biodiversity loss. But with some 44,000 species at risk of extinction, Langhammer warned that there's much work to be done. She said conservation must be prioritized and receive significant amount of resources and political support globally, while we simultaneously address the systematic drivers of biodiversity loss, such as unsustainable consumption and production. There's your quick story. Another quick story about a possible cancer vaccination or inoculation. The world's first personalized mRNA cancer jab is being tested in British patients, a move described as one of the most exciting developments in modern cancer therapy. The jab, mRNA-4157, uses the same technology as COVID vaccines to prevent melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer. The vaccine is entering a final stage trials where it has been used on patients who have had melanomas cut out. The jab helps their immune system to recognize and wipe out cancerous cells, preventing melanomas from growing back. University of Cologne London Hospital doctors are administering it alongside another drug, pembrolizumab, which also helps the immune system kill cancer cells. Pembrolizumab. There you go. MAB or MAB? Maybe it's MAB. The jab is being tested on other cancers, including lung, bladder, and kidney tumors, reports the BBC. Dr. Heather Shaw, who's coordinating the trial, said it was one of the most exciting things we could have seen in a long time. mRNA jabs, she added, could be game changers in immunotherapy. Speaking of prostate cancer, a prostate cancer screening trial in the UK is being hailed as a pivotal moment in the history of prostate cancer research. Despite the disease killing an estimated 12,000 men each year in the UK, there's currently no screening program. But that's set to change thanks to the £14 million Transform program, which will test new approaches to screening that experts say could reduce deaths by 40%. In the first stage of the trial, taking around 3 years and involving around 12,500 men, researchers will look for 4 potential screening options. These include blood tests, MRI scans, and genetic testing to identify those at higher risk. This could save thousands of men's lives every year in the UK alone, but it won't just be the UK. The trial could change practice globally, said Dr. Matthew Hobbs, director of the Research of Prostate Cancer UK, a charity. This is a pivotal moment in the history of prostate cancer research. And one more good story. We have the Green Nobel Prize winners.
Oh, yeah. The heroes.
Eco warriors who triumphed in David and Goliath battles with oil giants, coal firms, and beef producers were among those honored by a prestigious award this week. The Goldman Environmental Prize, dubbed the Green Nobel Prize, was founded in 1989 to celebrate activists scoring wins for the planet. Many previous winners have become government officials, heads of state, and NGO leaders. This year's recipients include Butuma and Sengugu Zukulu, who helped halt destructive seismic testing for oil and gas off South Africa's Eastern Cape. The other winners were Alok Shukla, who saved 445,000 acres of forest in India from coal mining. Marawa Maruchi of Johnson, Marawa Maruchi Johnson, who halted destructive coal mining in Queensland, Australia. Teresa Vincente, who helped to rescue Europe's largest saltwater lagoon. Andrea Vidure, who pushed California, U.S. to reduce transport emissions. And Marcel Gomes, who investigative reporting prevented beef linked to deforestation from being sold in Europe. These wonderful grassroots leaders refuse to be complacent in the face of adversity or to be cowed by powerful corporations and governments, said John Goldman, president of the Goldman Environmental Foundation. Together, they are a collective force in a growing global movement that is breathtaking and full of hope. So there's your good news today for today. More good news. 4 stories of good news. Back to you. Did you get the video?
Looks like I still haven't received the video. Unless
you still haven't got the link. Well, I'll
one from yesterday. So I guess keep sending it. This will be a large
we'll
article.
Try it.
But yeah,
right,
it's good to hear that the mRNA vaccine is still going ahead. Because I think I talked about it. I think also last week about them starting it. So they've actually started the trials. I think I reported on them planning the trials, but now they've actually gone ahead and started doing the trials. That's really good to hear. And of course, all those heroes of the green world who care about our planet. That's right. Switch over to our culture segment, which is an article I found yesterday, which is the history of breasts in art. Now, what does this have to do with good news? I don't know. Breasts are just good news. There you go. You're welcome. This is from Eliza Goodpasture on The Guardian. Breasts have been a focus in culture wars of the last 50-odd years. Second wave feminists casting off their bras in the 1970s come to mind, and then ongoing judgment-filled debates about breastfeeding, and then even more fraught and recent hostilities around trans healthcare. Recent celebrations of female sensuality manifested in things like Free the Nip, Hot Girl Summer, widening conversations around sexual pleasure, and the body positivity movement all take breasts as a key motive too. But for all the girlies freeing their nips on Instagram, it's much rarer to see them free on the street. God, one day I want to live in a world where I can take my shirt off and no one gives a shit. Like, not even a double take, no one's staring at my chest, they're just, some breasts. No big deal. We keep them under wraps, rarely articulate why they seem to be so contentious. The potency of breasts as symbols of things as desperate but overlapping as gender, eroticism, and motherhood make them the nexus of a wild cocktail of emotions, politics, and desire. A new exhibition at the ACP Palazzo Franchetti in Venice, Breasts, sets out to examine the multifaceted ways artists have represented them. It's a huge idea, but curator Carolina Pasti, that's so funny that her name is Pasti. Like a pasty that you put over your nipples to cover them because people don't like seeing female nipples. Largely limits the exhibition to post-war modern and contemporary art. She sourced minor works from big-name artists and installed them in a pink environment that isn't even the Instagrammable, hoping to pull its visitors with the gimmick of boobs. She begins, however, with a tiny Madonna and child from circa 1395 that is part of the genre known as a Madonna de latte, because it depicts Christ drinking from his mother's breast. There are hundreds of works like this one. It feels as if every Renaissance painter made one at some point. Iconography of the nursing Madonna was a branch of the cult of the Madonna of Humility because the Virgin Mary was depicted as humble woman of the people. In medieval and Renaissance Europe, and even into the 20th century, breastfeeding was something only working class people did. They breastfed their own children and were hired as wet nurses for middle and upper class families. The idea that Mary would have nursed her own child, the Son of God, was revelatory. The Catholic fascination with blood found resonance in other fluid of the body, milk. I have received the video, by the way. But this motive fell out of fashion after the Council of Trent, also known as the Counter-Reformation, in the 1560s, which firmly delineated the boundaries of acceptable iconography in the Catholic Church in response to the birth of Protestantism. The intimacy of Mary feeding her child and the rapture in which these images were held by the masses had become too crass, too embodied for the church. Frickin' losers. So begins the saga of breast in modern Western culture, already rife with conflict. Of course, Pasty could have started much earlier with the so-called Willendorf Venus, for example, made circa 25,000 BCE in Paleolithic Europe, depicting a female figure with voluptuous breast, belly, and hips, or with one of the many sculptures of the Ephesian Artemis, a version of the Greek goddess Artemis with many breasts, made around the 1st century CE. These ancient pre-Christian images of women, often narratives of fertility, abundance, and matriarchal power that sit outside the bounds of contemporary representations of femininity, but nevertheless have influenced the way breasts are understood today. In the centuries between Madonna de latte and the modern contemporary vision of the breast on show at Palazzo Franchetti, perceptions of breast shifted dramatically. Think of the history of women's necklines in Europe as a microcosm of the way breasts were socially coded. The high ruffs in early Elizabethan England compared with the busty, dramatic, low necklines of the 18th century France that sometimes even exposed nipples, followed by the prudish late Victorian dress when high collars returned. Class is hugely important in reading this history too. It was generally the breast of upper-class women that were of interest, either as objects to be hidden or displayed. Images of women in lands that were colonized by European powers were often rendered with bare breasts, signifying the perceived lack of civilization and their inequality with white women. In the 20th century, the development of modern art and abstraction led to depictions of breasts that were abstracted from the body. Laura Pano's work, which Pasty cites as the main inspiration for the art show, depicts breasts in isolation, without the body they belong to. The shapes and the textures that make a breast become strange and heightened in this context. The repeating concentration circles of Pagno's Origine echo Marcel Duchamp's Pierre de Touche, which is also featured in the exhibition. The sense of roundness, of being an orb, which is rarely true of actual breast. It is highlighted in works such as Adelaide Sioni's To Be Naked Breasts and Masami Terako's Breast on Hollywood Hills installation. Despite the erotic association of breasts, few of these works are particularly sexual. Chloe Wise Soccer, showing a chest with a curvy set of breasts leaning down over a black and white soccer ball, has the most sex appeal. This embodiment of most of these works is too jarring to allow for any sense of human connection. The artist's gaze takes on an outsized significance here, when power dynamics and physical interaction are implied by the interaction between artist and subject. Pasty told the author of this article, that inclusivity was a fundamental value for her as the curator of the exhibition, in a pursuit of understanding how women were represented throughout art by both men and women. The male artists featured in the exhibition approached the breast from various points of view. Robert Mapplethorpe, the celebrated gay American photographer, took the photo titled Lisa Marie Breasts in 1987. He positioned himself and his camera below his subject's chest, taking a photo that looks upward from her belly button towards her breast, which rise up like mountains in a strange landscape of flesh. His insistence on the shape and line of this monumental embodied landscape, rather than the personhood of his subject, invites the viewer to see breasts from a new perspective. Other male depictions of breasts have had an undertone of violence or control, such as Alan Jones' cover story 2-4, a Barbie-esque metal cast of an idealized female body. While some artists look forward to abstraction or other contemporary visual languages, others look back to historical motifs of representing breast. Cindy Sherman's photograph Untitled, number 205, shows the artist dressed as a sort of Baroque, Madonna-esque figure with bare breasts and pregnant belly, draped in gauzy fabric, arranged like an ingress painting. But the breasts and the belly are obviously fake, hanging on the artist's shoulders like those of a drag queen, evoking complicated readings about gender, motherhood, and trans-historical connection. Anya Waitman's more recent painting, Chest, shows a close-up of a woman's chest with her arms covering her breast. The flattened realism and blank setting characteristic of Wan's work and gives her subject timelessness that allows us to imagine and depicts a scene that is equally likely to have happened yesterday or 500 years ago. The decision to examine a single part of the traditional female body rather than the whole body or the idea of femininity or womanhood itself makes this exhibition purposely narrow. It promotes a particularly abstract, formal view of the breast. How has this beautiful, specific thing inspired artists? The curves, the colors, the undulations of skin and flesh are the subject of the works here much more than the cultural ebbs and flows of breasts and the people who have them. It also opens up space for conversation about who has breasts. Prue Norrie is the only featured artist who is a survivor of breast cancer, and her work, Al Norencier number 6, is a fragile, round glass sculpture of breasts that raised questions about the fragility of life and health. Many breast cancer survivors no longer have their own breasts, so the mobility of this sculpture reflects the way breasts can be something that is removed from the body. Breasts can also be added to the body, as in Sherman's photograph or in Jack Sonk's photograph of the trans woman in Kent. Sonk's photo of a bare-chested man is also included, reminding us that literally everyone has breasts of some shape or size, but when we say breast, we almost always mean a woman's. These work push at the biological essentialism that still undergirds the way we think about what gender and bodies are. If breasts can come and go from bodies of different gender identities, how does their cultural meaning evolve? The exhibition joins a larger trend in the art world of exploring embodiment, which has often been driven by female artists and a feminist gaze. This has led to some wonderfully nuanced, substantive explorations of bodies and gender in art, such as Lauren Elkin's recent book on art monsters, but also to a lot of posturing about bodies that is only skin deep. Women's bodies have been the cultural motive of Western art. Critical engagement with those women is long overdue. Boobs are just boobs without the person they belong to. But what about her? What does she think? Well, if I can share my female women perspective here, I don't think about my breasts at all. Just like how people don't think about their nose or their fingers, it's just a part of my body that just happens to be there. Actually, I think about my breasts so little that I knock things over because I forget they're there. So it is so interesting that a majority of the population, or I should say at least half of the population, which is men, a lot of men just only think about breasts as like a thing, whereas a lot of women, it's their right toe. It's like it's nothing. It's just a part of our bodies, but it's constantly being objectified into this greater thing, right? It's a thing specifically over there. And I just want to live in a world where it's as important as the nose on my face. You know, some people can have an opinion on it, but it's not a big deal. There's my long expose here from, yet again, Eliza Goodpasture on this interesting exhibition on breasts throughout history, and I guess on to this day in history. Unless you have any opinions on breasts.
Nothing that comes to mind. I don't know. I was mostly spending most of that trying to understand what you were saying because of a poor link. So
yeah.
I can't take the headphones off, so I don't hear that beep, dit is all I was hearing. So I was like, okay, she's saying something. Anyway, so I really have a great opinion. So other than this day in history, I guess. I don't know. I can't really have an opinion and hear a lot of it. So, in 1711, Scottish philosopher David Hume, in this day, known for his philosophical empiricism and skepticism, was born in Edinburgh. So, Scottish philosopher. If you hear me at all, I don't know if you hear me because I really didn't hear you.
Don't think too much. It's fine.
1861, what's that?
I said, stop thinking about it. It's fine. I can hear you fine.
In 1861, because I forgot what I just started to read, 1861, Rabindranath Tagore, a Bengali poet, short story writer, song composer, playwright, essayist, and painter who received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913, was born in Calcutta. In 1896, American criminal H.H. Holmes was hanged. He was a serial killer who confessed to over 130 murders, although some believe the real number exceeded 200. It doesn't even say where. Isn't that weird? You know? I guess I could click on the whole story, but it tells me where everything else happened in Britannica. They really dropped the ball in these little news blurbs. They give you a whole bunch of information like, oh, here's all the things this guy did for a living, but or whatever. But no location. 1911, Japanese director Honda Ishiro, perhaps best known for a series of Godzilla movies, was born in Yamagata Prefecture, which is a place. Prefecture, I guess, is like a state or a province.
Like a county.
I don't even know what that word means.
Like I've
never really encountered it except in Japan.
It's just a county.
In 1915, Japan delivered an ultimatum to China demanding special privileges which the major European powers were unable to oppose because of their involvement in World War I. Yeah, do what you want in China. 1915, on this day, a German submarine, which later, were they called U-boats back then? They might not have been called U-boats, but yeah, I think they were called U-boats. Sunk the Lusitania, British ocean liner, indirectly contributing to the entry of the United States into World War I. I thought it directly contributed to the United States entry into World War I. 1918, the Treaty of Bucharest forced Romania to make territorial and financial reparations following its defeat by the Central Powers during World War I. In 1919, we're going year by year here, Argentine political figure Eva Perón was born. Don't cry for me, Argentina. She was the wife of powerful president. She was the wife of President Juan Perón, who became powerful through unofficial means, I guess. 1945, a German delegation that included General Alfred Jodl went to U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower's headquarters in Reims, France, and signed the surrender documents that ended the European phase of World War II. End of World War II in Europe today in 1945. 1946, Sony Corporation, a major Japanese manufacturer, was founded by Abuka Masaru and Morita Akio. 1954, Viet Minh General Vo Nguyen Giap took the French by surprise in the Battle of Dien Bien Phu, surrounding their base with 40,000 men and employing heavy artillery to capture it during the First Indochina War. 1954. 1992, more than 200 years after it was first proposed, the 27th Amendment garnered the necessary votes in Michigan, ratified it. The amendment involved salary increases to the members of the U.S. Congress. I think it's something like, you can vote yourself a salary increase, but it won't take effect until the next Congress. And it basically didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
2002, on the 25th anniversary of the Kentucky Derby win, Seattle Slew, the first undefeated racehorse ever to win the U.S. Triple Crown, died.
Oh,
wow.
No.
So Seattle Slew died on this day in 2002. They just ran the Kentucky Derby the other day in Kentucky. Our featured event in 1663, the Theatre Royal opened. The Theatre Royal, built by the dramatist Thomas Killigrew for his company of actors and now commonly known as Drury Lane Theatre, opened in London this day in 1663 and is the oldest English theatre still in use. Also born on this day was, our feature biography was Tchaikovsky. His first name is Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, Russian composer, born May 7th, 1840 in Botkinsk, Russia, and died November 6, 1893 at the age of 53 in St. Petersburg, Russia. Other birthdays today: Olympe de Gaugues, French writer. G-O-U-G-S. Gaugues? Anyway, lots more names to mispronounce here, as in 1861, Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore was born. 1892 is the birthday of Josip Broz Tito, the president of Yugoslavia, one of the last communist leaders of Europe. 1901 is the birthday of Gary Cooper, American actor. And what other day is it today? As we wrap it up, today is National Teacher Appreciation Day. You should always appreciate your teachers, or teach it your preachers. National Paste Up Day, which maybe you know what this is. National Paste Up Day. It looks like somebody's making a ransom note in this.
Preparing it. It's just how they used to make
National
pages
Roast
for
Leg
publication on newspapers and stuff. So how they would cut and composite newspapers together so that you could make a hard print, basically.
Yeah, the literal cut and paste of the old days, the physical cut and paste, not the one you do on your computer with no effort and no mess. It's National Barrier Awareness Day, and in this picture they got this poor guy in a wheelchair trying to get up a huge flight of stairs, and I'm like, really? They bothered to put all those stairs with no ramp and no elevator? Really? Okay. I don't think it exists in the United States anymore, a place that has no wheelchair access. You would get sued. National Roast Leg of Lamb Day. It's a great day unless you're a lamb. National Packaging Design Day. And we were just commenting early on the guy who invented the pizza box probably should win a Nobel Prize. The National Foster Care Day. So if you've foster parents, a tough job. These kids all come from tough situations, all of them. No matter, there's nobody there that's had it easy, and you gotta be a parent equally to all of them. So hats off to you. If I had a hat, I would have taken it off. National Tourism Day is also today. So these are your days for today, May 7th, 2024. The comprehensive news of planet Earth. And if you don't know, National Paste Up Day on May 7th each year remembers the time before desktop publishing and computerized digital imaging, when many publications were completed by hand. This day also remembers those who worked so tediously in their positions. That's back to you on National Paste Up Day.
Okay. This has been Allison here from the Netherlands, hoping that you are having a good Tuesday. And if you're not, this is me giving you permission to start right now. Take this good news. Orangutans are out there giving themselves medicinal herbs, so you do it to yourself too. Take some time for yourself today. We will see you tomorrow for our Wacky and Weird Wednesday, where we cover all the weird and wacky news stories that have been going on. And here is your mic drop moment. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video.
We'll bring you on into the temps, and we're all doing okay. Wow, 750 degrees in Gila Bend right now. And 1,270 in Ahwatukee. Now, I'm not authorized to evacuate Ahwatukee, but this temperature seems pretty high.
Cave Creek is really...
Yeah, Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, they don't look good either. And frankly, Wickenburg is a total loss. You might as well just get out of anywhere along this 60 here. It's very warm. Surprise is starting to heat up as well at 1,300 degrees. So again, the safe spots seem to be Chandler and Mesa. Scottsdale is doing okay so far, but you know, you're sort of surrounded by some pretty intense heat. So, you know, again, I'm not your dad, but I would get out while you still can. I think steel boils at about this temperature, so Cave Creek, there's probably nothing left up there right now. So don't even bother looting up there. It's not going to be worth it.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.